نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك سبحان الله وبحمده عدد خلقه ورضا نفسه وزنة عرشه ومداد كلماته سبحان الله العظيم اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا محمد ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا وجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم آمين. ربي زدني علما. Oh Allah, increase me in knowledge. ربي اشرح لي صدري. Allah, open up my heart, open my chest. ويسر لي أمري, and make my task easy for me. واحلل عقدة من لساني, and untie the knot in my tongue. يفقهوا قولي, so that they can understand me. We have a lot of stories of the prophets in the Quran. Some are very briefly described, some are repeated several times, but there are 5 prophets that are called the 5 great prophets. So we can do those 5 stories and then we can start, because it will take us a few months getting through all of them, inshallah. And then we can start from the beginning of the Quran, inshallah. So we will do Adam alayhi salam, Nuh alayhi salam. We're going to do Ibrahim alayhi salam, then Musa alayhi salam, and then Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Oh, we'll also do Isa alayhi salam before that. So we'll go in that sequence. So today we start the beautiful story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And I think you're going to find it so relevant to yourselves because he was very young. Imagine him as a teenager or a late preteen or early teenage. And we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given him a lot of wisdom for how he is strategizing about doing some dawah at a very, very young age. So we are going to start from that. And I want you to note that Ibrahim's story is also narrated in the Quran at multiple places. So the juz that we are going to be studying today, looking at the early years of his life.
This is Juz 17, Surah Anbiya.
Everybody remember, this is where you are going to find some of the details of his very young age. So he's a youth like yourself. Does anybody want to read the first ayat?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولقد آتينا إبراهيم رشده من قبل وكنا به عالمين.
جزاك الله خير. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, even before that, we blessed Ibrahim with rushd, with wisdom, with discretion, with rectitude. That's a difficult word. So you can understand rushd as this deep wisdom that he had. وَكُنَّا بِهِ عَالِمِينَ. For we knew him well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew how wise he was, how sincere he was towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how he was searching for a true Lord. We find that when we are sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides us. When we really want hidayat, we really want guidance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala arranges it for us. When we really connect with Allah, when we depend on Him, Allah ta'ala shows us the truths of this life. We really understand what's behind the scenes. We don't get entrapped by the tangible, worldly things around us. We can look behind them into the reality. So what kind of wisdom did he have as a youth? What country did he live in? What was his background? This is a story about 4,000 years old. So he was born nearly 4,000 years ago in what is currently called Iraq. And it was an empire at that time. There was a city called Ur, and this was near the current city of Mosul in Iraq. And the city was famous. Why was it famous? Because it was a center for worship of stars, the moon and the sun. And those people, that entire community, and it was not just a few people. We will read at other places in the Quran that this was also the government-backed religion. So the king, the government, his family, his father, his friends, like people he grew up with, everybody used to believe in these things. And what did they believe? They believed that these celestial bodies, the stars, the sun and the moon, had enormous influence on human destiny. So what did they believe? That if we want something in life, we have to ask the stars or the sun and the moon. If we want protection from some evil thing, from bad thing, then we seek protection from them. If we want risk, sustenance, money, children, happiness, everything is being controlled by these celestial bodies. So they used to worship idols made of wood, stone, or any other material they could lay their hands on. And these became like household gods. And their worship was regarded as an essential part of daily life. And they believed that this worship would lead them to better health and good fortunes and family life and in the running of their city, their government. But we understand Ibrahim AS to be this kind of the sole crusader, the one who went against the tide, the one who rebelled against that thinking. So we understand that he didn't just believe what he saw everybody else believe. He wasn't a follower of common opinions, being so easily influenced by others around. No, he was really a critical thinker. He was really in search for the truth. He didn't just follow where everybody led, as if, animals or sheep are led. No, this is the story of a young boy who uses the intelligence, the aql, the intellect, the power to think, analyze things through as a young man. So from his very youth, he wholeheartedly believed in one God and he rejected all of these idols. So what happened? Now we see one conversation, one specific event happening in these ayat here. إذ قال لأبيه وقومه ما هذه التماثيل التي أنتم لها عاكفون. Remember that occasion when Ibrahim asked his father and his people, what are these images to which you are so devoted? First of all, he starts questioning those beliefs. I want you to understand the strategies that he uses. The strategies for Dawah. Do we want to talk to one of our friends about what they worship? So this is the strategy that we are learning. Question something. Just ask. And when you ask, it flips a switch in a person's brain. Because the second I ask you a question, you have to start really thinking about a situation that you can just be taking for granted as a norm. This is the way it is. This is the way things get done. But when somebody asks you, but why? Why do things have to be done that way? Why are you doing it like that? So what happens? It really makes us pause. We take a step back and we start questioning that thing. And then we have to, our brain kicks in. We start analyzing. We become critical thinkers. So questioning is a very good strategy to make the other person think about a rationale for his actions. What did they say? And remember, who is he talking to? He's talking to his father and he's talking to his qawm, his nation, his people. So I ask you this. Is it easy raising such questions with parents and with your nation, with your communities, with your people? It tells you something about his character, even as a very young boy. Who can have this kind of conversation? Who can ask this kind of question from a household, parent, a community, a people, a country, where he's questioning the dominant faith? Imagine so many countries today where people worship idols or have other faiths. So I want all of us to learn about the qualities, the sifat, and the character of Ibrahim AS. He didn't suddenly become Allah's best friend one day. We see this trajectory throughout his life of how special he was. So tell me something. What comes to your mind? What kind of a picture is getting created in your minds?
Him asking his father, why on earth are you worshipping an idol? You can almost imagine a Muslim, like one of us, asking our parents, why on earth are we worshipping one God? And, when I say that out loud, it sounds really weird, and I would never ask anyone, especially my parents. The fact that he asked his own father that question, which obviously to the people there is like really, really, like, it's their religion, obviously they're going to care about it. He had like lots of bravery to even say that.
Yeah, a lot of bravery, a lot of confidence. What else? Even before that confidence, that bravery, what kind of a mind does he seem to have? As I said, like a very critical thinker. And he's trying to understand. He's also trying to make others understand, why are we all supposed to be doing what we are supposed to be doing? So that's a couple of things that we have learned about. What do they say? What does the father say? So imagine him, he must be having these conversations with people around. Like, why are we so committed, so devoted to these statues? قالوا وجدنا آباءنا لها عابدين. They replied, we found our forefathers worshipping them. What kind of a reply is that? You tell me. What does this tell you?
Doing things without thinking it out.
Yeah, they really have no answer. Do they give him a rationale? No. Their rationale is that we found our forefathers doing it. So it means that in our homes, when we were growing up, this is what our parents were doing. Then what does it tell you about majority of the people? Majority of the people just get influenced by whatever they see others around them doing. And by others also think people in power, people in authority. It's very hard to question somebody who is in authority, right? And not many people even think about doing that. So their answer isn't that we have an evidence that the sun and the moon and the stars control our destiny. They control our khair and shar. That wasn't the answer, because they have no evidence. The only reason they are doing it, and today we can really understand this in the context of influencers and those who get influenced. So if you ask somebody who is following another person, an influencer, and you ask them, why are you doing that? And if their only response is, oh, because I'm so impressed by that person. So you see, the mentality of most of mankind is that they are like cattle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that in the Quran at another place. Majority of mankind, la ya'lamun. They have no ilm. They have no knowledge. Majority of mankind, Allah ta'ala says in the Quran, la yaqilun. They don't use their aql, the intellect, the blessing Allah has given them. They don't contemplate the universe. They don't try to understand, oh, if this is the sun, then who created the sun? Should I not know him? So how does he respond? These are the ways, the strategies he's using to talk to people, to make them understand that what they're doing doesn't make sense really. He said, قَالَ لَقَدْ كُنْتُمْ أَنْتُمْ وَآبَاؤُكُمْ فِي ضَلَالٍ مُبِينٍ. He said, then certainly both you and your forefathers have been in manifest error. Like, this is not a criteria that you are on the right track just because your parents were doing it. What if they had been led astray? Will you just follow them? Should you not look for the right thing yourself? And we find a lot of people today in the world, they don't have any evidence of why they are following their faith. They only do it because they are following their forefathers. But he makes people question, well, what if the forefathers were wrong? For example, in dunya, when it comes to worldly things, do we all stick to only that which our forefathers did or knew? So somebody whose father had never been to school, should he today say, no, I will not go to school. I have an opportunity to go to Harvard Medical School and become a surgeon one day, but I will not do it because my father did not go to school. Do we say that in life? So today, somebody whose parents were or grandparents were poor, if he has a chance to make $1 million, does he say, no, because my parents were poor, I'm not going to do that? No. So we find that when it comes to dunya, when it comes to worldly things, we always want to, and this is human nature, all humans always want to outdo their parents. They want to do better than them. They want to have bigger homes, bigger businesses, bigger degrees. But when it comes to deen, and I want you to see the huge dichotomy in our choices and the way shaitan confuses us and the way our nafs confuses us. When it comes to deen, when it comes to faith, when it's a matter of dunya, for example, worldly things, somebody has severe pain in the abdomen and you need to go to a doctor. Would you go to just anyone, or do you search for something when you're trying to choose a doctor for yourself? What do you think? What are you looking
Search for the good doctors.
Search for the good doctor. You go online, you see their reviews. You want to see what is his previous experience. Has he done previous surgeries? Can I just let him just open my belly up? No, I need to see like what's his reputation? What do his peers say about it? What do other patients say about him? What's his reputation? We call a few friends. So we make a lot of effort for evidence, for truth, that we are going to the right person, we are doing the right thing. But when it comes to deen, when it comes to faith, majority of mankind doesn't bother. This is how shaitan has us confused. We don't look for evidence. We don't look for truth. We just follow what people have told us. Why? Because we are complacent. We don't place value on the truth that Allah has shown us everywhere around us. So he says, what if your parents and their forefathers were all on the wrong track? Would you still be following them? قالوا أجئتنا بالحق أم أنت من اللاعبين. They asked, have you brought us the truth, or are you one of those who trifle? Basically means the one who play. The one who is engaged in some kind of play or sport, meaning somebody who's not serious about life, somebody who is just into that, entertaining himself with some kind of playful activity. So what are they saying in today's terms? How do we understand this ayat?
Like, is he one of the true men, or is he like really just trying to annoy the people or having fun with them?
Yeah, is he kidding? They're saying, are you kidding, or are you really serious? That's what they're saying. Because what has he done? He has questioned the dominant faith, the dominant culture, the dominant belief system in a society. And he is questioning those who are in more power than him, because he's a very young boy. So sometimes when we say something very serious, or when we say something that people don't expect at all, they want to know, they're shocked, and they want to know, do you really mean it, or were you just kidding? Do you understand? They are so shocked by this. They are saying, are you serious? Do you really know what you're saying? Do you mean that? Or are you just kidding with us? And sometimes people who don't have the guts to follow through with something that they are trying to say, or the change that they are trying to bring, they back down and they start apologizing. They lose their nerve. But we see the strength of character. We see the confidence of Ibrahim AS in his response. And why is that? Because of his connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah gives him this strength. Allah gives him this wisdom, this vision that he can see through all of the BS that people are talking about. So listen to his response. He doesn't back away. He doesn't apologize. He gives them a very serious answer. He says, قال بل ربكم رب السماوات والأرض الذي فطرهن وأنا على ذلكم من الشاهدين. He said, no, your Rabb is the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and it is He who has created them, and I am of those who bear witness to this. So what is he telling them? He's saying, no, I'm telling you, I'm serious. This is not kidding. This is not a joke. These, the sun and the moon and the stars, or the pictures or the statues that you worship in your homes, these are not Rabb. This is not God. Who is God? He's introducing them now. He's saying, who is your Rabb? Rabbus samawati wal ard. Is the Lord, the Rabb of the heavens and the earth. Allazi fatarahunna. It is He who created them. So do you see his vision? Do you see how amazing he is? How unique his thinking is? And where does that uniqueness come from? That all of the world is saying something else. And
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gives that rushd, that guidance, that wisdom to him. And he says, I'm a witness. And then he says, وَتَاللَّهِ لَأَكِيدَنَّ أَصْنَامَكُمْ بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. By Allah, I will certainly plan against your idols when you turn and go away. So it's like he's planning, he's strategizing that I am going to do something. I'm going to plot. I'm going to strategize. I'm going to plan against these idols just to make the people and his father and the king and everybody in the community realize this doesn't make sense what you are doing. You're just doing it because you found others doing it. You have never questioned the sense or the rationale or the evidence for this yourself. So now he's going to do something, he's going to strategize to make them really wonder and use their intellect and wake up and see, do these idols really have any power or not? And we see another smartness in him. When is he planning to do that? بَعْدَ أَن تُوَلُّوا مُدْبِرِينَ. When you turn and go away. So he doesn't do anything right there in front of the people. He waits while they all leave. So, sometimes people have these national events where everybody goes. A lot of the people will be away. So he's waiting for that time when people go to their festival or their event. And then what does he do when they are away? فَجَعَلَهُمْ جُذَاذًا إِلَّا كَبِيرًا لَهُمْ لَعَلَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ يَرْجِعُونَ. So he broke them all in pieces except the biggest of them. Why? Why does he do that? So that they might turn on it. So we understand that this is not thoughtless destruction of property. No, because if he was doing that, then he would have destroyed all of them. And we also see that this is not an angry young man doing things. He's not taking out his anger and frustration at the people. We see this, that he's thinking things through. He's critically analyzing. He's strategizing. He has patience. He has sabr. He asks them intelligent questions that will waken up their critical thinking. Then he plans to do something because the words haven't worked, so now he's planning to do something with his hands. But again, it's not anger, it's not a reaction, because he leaves the biggest one in its place. So when they return and they see all the little ones broken on the ground and the big one is just in place, قالوا من فعل هذا بآلهتنا إنه لمن الظالمين. On their return, when they saw the plight of their idols, some asked, who has done this to our gods? He must surely be a wicked person. I want you to understand the beauty of the Quran. Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has saved these conversations that happened maybe 4,000 years ago. And he has put them quote by quote in the Quran for us till the end of time now. Mankind who wants to see the truth about history and want to learn some lessons, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing them these, he's preserving these conversations for us. Do you understand the irony behind this sentence? Who has done this to our gods? So shirk, when a person does not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, then it means that he doesn't even understand who a god should be. What are the attributes of being a god?
Immortal.
Yeah, God is someone who is immortal. God is someone who can't be destroyed. If God is so helpless that a young boy can break it into pieces, does it deserve to be thought of as a god? Should a god not be able to protect himself? How is he protecting you if he can't protect himself? Do you understand the things that should have come into their heads? Why do we think this God will protect me? He wasn't able to protect himself. Why should I think that this God will give me something if he can't save himself? But this is what shirk does. When our aqeedah about God is not correct, then our entire faith, and by us I mean entire humanity. So anybody whose aqeedah, whose basic understanding, whose creed about God is not 100% correct, then the foundation is all shaky. And imagine a tall building that you are building on a shaky foundation. What's going to happen to that building?
It's going to break.
It's going to topple over. It's shaky. So I want you to understand, you read comparative religions and you see what's happening in different faiths. And you're seeing how their followers today, because their aqeedah about their God, their Rabb, that foundation is shaky, that foundation is not laid well, it's incorrect. So we're seeing all of the worship, all of the beliefs that are emerging from that foundation are all leading them astray. And you can really apply this to all of the faiths that you see around yourself being practiced. And the same applies to our faith also. There are so many Muslims who, because their aqeedah, their creed, their belief about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not correct. So instead of turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are falling prey to other humans who are just using religion to control them and exploit them. And you're also seeing that people who have a strong creed. Are we seeing this example today in the world of a community of Muslims in our ummah who have lost everything of any worldly benefit that can be taken away from you? They have lost their homes, they have lost their families, they have lost their schools, their hospitals, their food, their water, their security. What do they have? They have
Allah.
They have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.